So welcome everyone to today's lab session. Today we'll be talking about notifications. And here I call it reminders, but they're going to be reminders that we receive via notifications. So we'll be talking about notifications in general. We'll try out some notification. We set a time frame for a notification to show up. And then we also show a notification when we have made a payment. So we are going to simulate what happens when you go to the grocery store or you go to a shop. You make payment with your Google Pay or Android Pay. I think that is the name, Android Pay or Apple Pay. And then immediately you receive a notification. Those notifications are push notifications. We call them push because they are being pushed onto your device from an external server. But we can also simulate that by showing a notification when you perform a certain action. Now, there are different kinds of notifications. There are time-sensitive notifications, for instance, notifications that alert you that your battery is about to die. Those are system notifications. There are notifications that you show when you are running a background task. So in Android, due to battery constraints, Android puts a requirement that whenever you are doing a long background task that is consuming battery, you need to show a persistent notification. That means that this notification is going to be at the top of the screen the whole time and inform the user that you are using too much battery, for example. So we'll be looking at how we can create notifications today. All right, so in this lab session, our task is very simple. The task is to create reminders for future payment. And in this way, we are going to, on the start of the application, we are going to create a notification and set a time frame for it. And this is going to remind us in the future, it's going to show up in the future and tell us that, hey, you need to make a payment, for example. Secondly, we'll show a notification when a payment is made. So once you made a payment, we are going to show a notification in the app, like in the example shown on the right. And outside this lab, independently, I don't know if you've tried the date picker yet, but I would want you to include a date in the payment and use a date picker. Currently, I do not have a date. I use a date, but I create it in the code using today's date. But I want you to try or experiment with a date picker if you haven't already. And also see, based on the Android documentation, how you can add actions to your notifications. So this is where you get all the documentation for notifications. It contains stuff that we are going to be doing today and additional stuff. All you have to do is to be patient, to go through it one after the other, and you understand it based on what we are going to be doing today. There are other resources that you can look at with regards to date and time pickers and some more information on notifications. All right, so this is technically what we'll be doing today. And let us switch over to our code. I just want to check what I did, what I changed here. Oh, preview. Okay. All right, so let us begin. Please, now I won't be able to see your messages, so if you have a question, feel free to unmute and just let me know. We begin by going into our Gradle scripts. Now we want to do something new. We want to add notifications. To do that, we need the work manager dependency. So the work manager allows us to do things in the background. Time, okay, time. The work manager allows us to do a lot of things in the background. It used to be scheduler. Then in 2018, the Google I/O 2018, the work manager was introduced that combines a lot of previous resources that Android had available. And so we'll be making use of a work manager today. A work manager allows you to perform a certain action at a specific point in time, if you so want. You can also schedule recurring tasks to be done. But today, we are going to be focusing on two files. One we'll call a notification worker, and the other is going to be in the payments view model. So let's begin by opening the payment view model. I have to sync first. And while doing that, I'm going to start working on the payment view model. All right, so in order to show a notification, Android requires that you create a notification channel. On load of your application, you create a notification channel. And so I'm going to do that in the payments view model. I decided to do it here. This usually is the first thing you should do, so we should be doing it in the home view model. But I am doing it here just to keep my code in one place. I don't want to move around too much today. But you can do this in your home view model. All right, so I'm going to create a function. And that function, of course, is private, just to this class. That takes a context. All right, so there is this notification that I need, information that I need to put here. I'm just going to copy paste. We create the notification channel for API levels 26 and above. This is not in the support library. Support library is legacy. And so we need to run a check. If our build, if our SDK version is greater than version O. Version O is, I think, 126. If it's greater than or equal to version O, then we can create a channel name. So I'm just going to call this notification channel name. And it takes a description text, and I'm going to call that notification description text and notification channel. And it takes a level of importance, and that comes from notification manager. And here you can see whether if its importance is high, low, max, min, none. So I'm just going to use the default. It's just a default notification channel. And then I'm now going to create a channel itself, and that channel is a notification channel. And it requires an ID. So my ID, I'm just a string ID, so I'm just going to call it channel ID. And then it's a name, I'm going to supply the name, and its importance, I'm going to supply the importance. And that will be it. Now, we need to add some other additional stuff, which is a description. And Kotlin allows us to use this keyword here, apply. So what this apply does is that it calls the specified function block with a value that we are about to provide with it and returns this value. So if I say apply, I can say description equals my description text. The apply allows us to call this and add something more to it. Okay, because we can see the channel just has an ID, a name, and an importance. But by using apply, we have access to, as you can see, this here is a notification channel, which is what we just created here. So the apply allows us to have access to this notification channel. And within this function, we can add more elements to it. And in this case, we are adding a description. Okay, so now we need to register. Just a moment. I hear a lot of noise. Could whoever it is, could you mute your microphone, please? Thank you. Thought I should be able to control it from here, but I don't see the feature today. Okay, yeah. All right. So we can proceed. So now we need to register the channel with the system. And we do that by using the notification manager again. To register with the system, we need to call this system service that is available by context. And we need to call the notification. So over here, for instance, you can see so many different services. The alarm service, so if you are building an alarm, you'll be using that if you are doing something regarding audio, battery, biometric. So it has a lot of services available that you can use. But in this case, we are just focused on notification. So we need to call the notification service. Okay, and we are going to say that this whole thing should be of type notification manager. So we call the as. The documentation provided, all right. And then now that we have created a notification manager, we are just going to create the notification channel from here. So we are going to say notification manager.create notification channel, and then we supply the name of our channel object. And that is it. We are done creating the channel. This is required by Android in order to create any notification from API 26 and above. And so how do we use this? We can just go to our init here and just create notification channel, and it requires a context. Now, in this payment repository, we do not have a context, but this context, I think it's available in the main view, but we do not have context here. So it's either we move this whole thing to the home view, or we supply context. And I would want to use the graph class we created again, just to show how we can access context for the whole application. So we can have a shared context for the whole application. So here I can say app context. By lazy, not necessarily. Okay, no, I'm gonna use latent var app context. Then over here, when the context of application is provided, I can initialize my app context. So remember here, the context of application is provided, and when we go to where it is used, it is application context that is fed to our graph. So we just set the same context to our let init var variable to make sure that this is available anywhere. And so over here, I could do the same. I'll just say context graph.app context. But as we can see here, we are leaking an object. We are leaking the context across different classes, which is not ideal. But I'm either going to pass it this way, or I can just come in here and say graph.app context. I'm just going to pass the context to the notification channel. Okay, so our notification channel is defined. What do we do next? Now we can create our notification, and we want our notification to run when, say, we make when we start the application. So, I mean, when we visit since we are in a payment view, when we visit the payment interface. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to create a new function. I'm going to call it set one time notification. I'm going to create a one-time notification, and I'm going to set a time period that it should run. And I want this notification to run, say, after 10 seconds, so after 20 seconds. You can specify a particular time that it should go. But for this exercise, I'm just going to do something very simple. So here we use our work manager. This work manager is coming from it's coming from our work manager here. So work manager.get instance, it requires a context, and so I'm going to provide a graph.app context to it. And we can provide some constraints. We can define some constraints. This is not constraint layout, but this is limitations that we want to place on our work manager. And should give me constraints up here. Oh, I must be using this from composition. Okay. Constraint. Now I need to find the one that applies to work manager. Oh, here. Okay. Android. So I have two constraints. One is composer UI, but I need the one from work manager. So I'm going to click this. It's coming that way because I had already imported the previous constraint. Yeah, work manager dot builder. Exactly. And here we can set a lot of limitations. We can say that, okay, we only show this notification when the phone is charging, or we only show this notification if the battery is not low. So it requires that the battery is not low, or it requires a particular network type. So if say you do not have a particular network, it shouldn't run. Or that we want, we only need this notification when our storage is not low, when we have enough space, or we only need this when our device is idle. That means our device is not being in use. And so if the device is being in use, this notification is not going to run. But for this example, we are just going to use a network type, and I'm going to supply a particular network type, and I can state what network type I want, whether it is connected, whether it is a metered network. These are all constraints that you can set. I'm just going to leave it at connected, and I'm going to build. Okay, so now our constraint is done. We can now create a notification worker. Now, a notification worker is what handles our notification, what work needs to be done. We show notifications when, say, we are trying to download a file, or we are trying to do a long operation, and we want to notify the user that, oh, this notification, this operation is complete. So imagine we are downloading a movie, which is huge. And so we need to perform a certain task. And that task we'll have to define here at this portion. And so when the task is done, then we want to inform the user that, hey, the task is done. And so here is your task, or just to notify them that, okay, your stuff is done, so you can continue doing whatever it is you want to do. To do this, I would be using the one-time work request builder. That is because technically I just want to do this one time. There are options to do multiple stuff, but for this example, I'm just going to be using the one-time request builder. You have to look at the work manager documentation to see how you can do a lot of other things. And so I'm going to be creating a notification worker class. I haven't defined it. So of course, it is going to be like this. And then I'm going to set an initial delay. I want this to run 10 seconds. So I'm going to call time unit of seconds. So I want this to delay for 10 seconds before it runs. And then I'm going to set my constraints that I defined earlier, and I'm going to build this as well. So inside this notification worker, I'm going to have a task that I would want to do. And over here, that task, it could be a long operation to, say, download a movie. It's going to be running asynchronously. And so to start that, I am saying that, okay, let me set a delay of 10 seconds. I can change this to minutes or days or hours. So it's going to, when this is triggered, it's going to wait for 10 minutes before it runs. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at seconds. Okay, so now that our notification worker object is created, we can call our work manager and queue our work. And that is going to be this. We just put this work that we have created, we put it up for background processing. So we add it to a queue for to be worked on in the background. That is it. But I want to show something else that ideally doesn't need to be done here. We can monitor for the status of the task that we are working on. Excuse me. We can monitor for the status such that we will do something when our task completes, whether it's successful or not. And so I can do this. You do not have to do this, but I can get info by ID live data. And I'm going to use my notification worker object that I create. It has an ID. So I'm going to be monitoring. I'm going to be monitoring that observe forever. I'm going to use observe forever. And I'm going to be monitoring that, and I'm going to say, okay, it's going to return an object of type work info. So I'm going to say if my work info dot state equals work info state dot succeeded, then I want to do something else. If my whatever work I am doing in this notification worker is done and it was successful, then let me create a simple notification. All right, so we are going to set a notification to run when we initialize this particular our payment view model. And The work that we wanted to do will be defined in a notification worker, which we'll be creating soon. And after creating the worker, we enqueue it. We put it in the queue to be executed. And over here, we are monitoring for the state. We are monitoring the state of the work that we are doing. If it is successful, then we want to do something. This is not required. But I want to show a very simple notification when the task is done. For instance, the download of the video is done. I want to show a very simple notification. Okay, so before we create the simple notification, let's go create the notification worker. So I would want to do it inside my util this time around. And so I'm going to create a class called notification worker. That takes a context and takes a user parameter. And then this extends a worker from the work manager class, which we pass the context to, and we pass the worker parameters to. Okay. Now we can see this is highlighted because this worker class has a function that needs to be implemented. It has an abstract method that we need to implement. So we just go ahead and implement it. And it's generated for us. So in here, we need to do some work, all right? This do work handles some background stuff for us. So this is where we naturally would be doing background processing of downloading, say, the video. What I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to run a for loop from 0 to 10. And I'm going to log I'm just going to say, I'm going to give it a tag, which is notification worker. And I'm saying counting from, or counted I. All right, so it's going to run a loop and it's going to count from 0 through 10. And since it's a try, I need to catch any exceptions that may happen. And so I return a results dot failure. And over here, I return a results dot success. So when this thing that runs successfully, then I return a result of success. If it does not, I return a failure. What is the issue? Oh, okay. I didn't use return. All right, so if it is successful, then I return success. If it fails, I return a failure. But Android Studio says that it is better to lift this return out. And so I can hover over this and I say lift return out. So it takes the return away from here and it just puts it at the top. So it returns, then it tries. If it's successful, then it just returns success. If not, then it returns failure. All right, so we can come back and import our notification worker. So all that we are doing is that we are going to wait for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, we are going to run this loop. When that is done, then this would be in a state succeeded. And then we are going to show a notification, a simple notification. We can also create an error notification here. All right, but I'll be leaving this to you. We can create, so if it is successful, we create a simple, let me not use simple, create success notification. If not, we create an error notification. So let's just go ahead and create a very simple notification. So I'm going to create the success notification, and I'll leave the creation of the error notification for you. It's technically the same thing. All you have to do is change the message. All right, so to create a notification, you need a notification ID, and each notification ID must be unique. Each notification ID you create in your system must be unique. So if I give this a notification ID of 1 and I'm creating the error notification, for instance, the ID must not be 1, it must be different. Please note that. Okay, so I'm going to create a builder object that uses the notification compat.builder. And this requires a context. As you can see, it requires a context and a notification channel ID. So I'm going to use our graph.app context, and I'm going to give my channel ID in there, which matches this. So make sure that they match. Another important thing is it would be better for me to create a companion object and assign this inside a companion object and just repeat them so you do not make mistakes while typing them out. But I'm going to give this where I'm building my notification. So I'm going to give my notification an icon, and I'm going to use a drawable. I do not have, let me import this. I do not have any images besides the one that Google Android Studio provided. So I'm just going to use that. And then I'm going to assign a content title, excuse me. And I'm going to say notification completed. Oh, no, success. Download complete. And then I'm going to set content text. So you set a title, like the notifications you receive all the time. There is always a title that tells you what a notification is about, and a description or a text giving you more information about the text. So I can say your movie, or in this case, since we are doing a countdown, countdowns are considered completed successfully. And then I'm going to set a priority to this as well. Notification compat dot priority. I'm going to use a default priority. Okay, so now we've created our notification. All that is left to do is to display it. So to display, we use this function block called width. And it also makes use of the notification compat. It requires a context. We need to import from? Yeah. Hang on. Yes. I need to find out what that's enough information. Yeah, it is supposed to be from Notification Manager Compact. Notification Manager. Yep. Do I have another from here? Okay. Hang on a sec. Oh, okay. Now I see where it is. It's not. It's Notification Manager Compact. Yeah. Not Notification Compact. Yep. All right. So note that your notification ID is unique. Your notification ID is unique for each notification that you define. Okay, so all that we have to do is just notify, and notify requires the ID of the notification. So we call notification ID. You said it has an ID, I guess it has a notification, yeah. And then builder.build. Okay, so now we have created a notification. This is it. Let me just leave this there for simplicity. Otherwise, there's going to be trouble. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and comment this. So we are creating a success on one time. So I'm going to call this over here. Now let us see if this works. Hopefully it does. Okay. Now let's go and let's wait and see if it works. Okay, so now we see a notification pop up at the top. Awesome. So this is our notification that worked, or the one-time notification, and it has the logo that we provided the icon, and then the name of the application, a title, and then a description right here. Now, these are other notifications that are on the phone right now. One is, you can see these are titled silent notifications. You're not notified about them, but they are there. Android, this one is coming from the Android system. And it is telling me that my USB is connected to my phone and that I should tap to turn this off. I have another notification here that is informing me that I am charging my device via USB. And down here, you can see Google updates. And each time an update begins, it shows up briefly, and then it goes off. Now, this I cannot take off. It is persistent until I am done or I disconnect. So we can see again Google Play Store updating, and then it's going to go off. All right, so a notification is successful, which is a good thing. Next, I would want you to create this error. You technically would do the same thing as we did here. The only thing is that you're going to change your message. And that'll be it. So if the countdown is wrong, and of course, you can always do something here to throw an error. And then you should see that error notification. What I'll be doing lastly is to generate a notification when we make a payment. So I'm going to create the same thing, private fund, create payments, payment made, notification. But this is going to take, I'm going to supply my payment object to this notification. And I'm going to say notification ID, it's going to be 2. And I'm going to use my builder, and it requires context, which I get from the graph. And I use the same channel ID. So you don't have to create multiple channels. One channel is enough. So set small icon. I'm going to use my durable IC. Set content title. And I'm going to use new payment. New payment of payment.amount. Made. Content text. How do I describe this? Okay, I'm just going to say new payment made, and I'm going to say you paid payment.amount. Let me use the $sign here. For okay, it's the category ID that I have on category instance itself. And then what do I have here? Okay. Let's see if we can use payment dates. Yeah, Okay, and then we set priority. And this time I'm going to make my priority high. And then we do the same with notification manager compat.from. We provide a context. And then we notify, and we use notification ID. This time it's 2, and then our builder.build. All right, so create payment notification, payments made notification. So I'm just going to copy that, and when my payment is made here, when I'm saving my payments, I'm just going to supply that. So I'm going to create a notification when I make a payment. Let's try that. One thing you could try is when you log in, you want to send a push notification that, for instance, somebody has logged into your account. Although that comes from push notifications, you can try it in this sense. So once you click on the login, a push notification is generated. Hey, someone has logged into your account, and that shows at the top. That would be a nice way to try this out. I need to do something. Let's say I bought some food. Oh, we still have the first one running. So there it is. Name of food. Okay, let me choose a category first. Let me travel. Train tickets. Train ticket to Helsinki. And so it is 45 euros. Okay, let's see if our notification shows up. We click save, and yes, immediately we have our notification. And it says new payments. You paid $45 on, yep. I'd forgotten that we are using a timestamp. So it's not really configured. We'll have to convert this into a date. But you already know how to do that. We did that somewhere. I don't think it is here. I'm pretty sure it is from, it should be the payments category view model or payments category. Payments, yeah, over here. So how to convert along. We can actually move this into a utility function and just use it in there. But let me see if I can access it. Payments.date.to-date string. Okay, yeah. Nope, it's not in this file. I think I made it a private method. Let me see. Payments. Where is this thing? Oh yeah, it was a private function. Now, if I make that open, yeah, so now it is available to that string. So it's going to convert. Let's try this again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to clear all my notifications, and we go in here. This time I'm buying a bus ticket to town, and I call it travel and say it is $6. So a notification comes up. And of course, if we scroll to travel, we see train ticket to Helsinki and then a bus ticket to town. And all right, this time around, it is shown really well. So new payments made, you paid $6 on February 1st, 2022. And of course, the previous one also works. Okay, so this is it for notifications. I will leave this one to you. So I'm going to leave this code in here. I'm going to push this on GitHub, and definitely this will fail when you run. So you have to create this in order to have it to run. And yeah, this is it. Any questions? Any questions? All right, so today we finished quite early. The past few weeks, I haven't given you any breaks. So put those 30 minutes, 10 minutes each day for the past 3 weeks, and that'll be 30 minutes. So I'm giving it all back to you today. So if there are no questions, thank you for being here. Oh, okay, I see a question. Oh, you see the GitHub link under the videos on YouTube and also in Moodle. So I provide a link to GitHub. I make a tag for each lab, so you can download the source code for each lab separately. I was going to use different branches, but I thought that could be confusing, so I just created tags. So you can find a link in Moodle, and I'll be uploading this one as well. Any other questions? Just go to where you found the exercise link for today's session. Each week, there is a link for the videos on Moodle under each week. And also there's a link to the slides if I used the slides that day, and a link to the GitHub. If you do not find it, please just email me. All right. All right. So thank you very much.